episode of 8th Arrow Whispering. And on today's episode, we are going to be reviewing the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft. I'm recording this a little earlier than I normally record my videos, so it's still a bit earlier in the morning. I'm pretty tired because I was up late last night watching the draft and then post-draft watching all the reaction videos and whatnot. So I have a mug of coffee here, and we will just go through and review the picks, and I have that pulled up here, and also I have the grades they gave from all the teams for the first round for the draft, coming from NFL.com. So before we jump in that, I'll go ahead and just give my thoughts on the Carolina Panthers taking Ted McMillan, and I was not stoked. If you guys watched my previous video, he was not one that I was gunning for. I had heard rumblings that he was potential at number 8 for us, and I even texted my cousin the other day, who's a Patriots fan, and we were talking about, I was asking him who he wanted to take and everything, and he had mentioned Tet, and I had told him that I had a feeling the Panthers were going to take Tet, and look, he might be a good receiver. He might be great for all I know, and I hope he is. I hope he's the best receiver we've had in Carolina Panthers history. I don't think he will be, but also I'm not an expert. But I just think our defensive need was so great, and the fact that we went wide receiver in back-to-back years in the first round kills me. I think people are forgetting how good Jalen Coker was last year, and I think he can help expand it. And Xavier Legette was not great, but give it another year. We could have taken this year to bolster our defense, and I'm not saying we won't. We still have, I think, 8 more picks, and so who knows what we'll do with that. I have to wait until it's all said and done to have my full thoughts together on the overall grade for the Carolina Panthers. But this first round pick, I just thought Jalen Walker, slide him in there at number 8. I thought and the more leading up to the draft, the more I was looking into it, the more I was pretty stoked about Jalen Walker and what he could bring to this Panthers defense and what we're needing. We have no edge right now. That's over-exaggeration. We have Clowney. DJ Wanham, who's on an expiring contract. Jadeveon Clowney is probably gonna. I think he's got 1 year left on his contract. And what else? I think maybe DJ Johnson, who's a project at best. And so there's just not a lot. I know we bolstered our defense tackles in the free agency. I guess we got Pat Jones on the edge, but again, older guy. Even our linebackers, I'm not as worried about linebackers, but that edge, I just really wanted to shore up that front seven, and I'm not saying they're not going to do that. We'll see what the rest of the draft has to bring in the coming rounds, but we don't pick until, I think, 57 is our next pick. And, there's a lot of guys still on the board, so maybe we'll trade up. I hope we do. Mike Green's still there. He's defensive line. He's a defensive tackle, so not that edge. Landon Jackson from Arkansas, I've been looking into a little bit. He looks nice. And yeah, maybe maybe I should have done maybe if there's time we'll look through and see what players are still available and kind of see. But I don't know, I just thought the defensive need, with being the worst defense in the league last year, and I think giving up the most points in NFL history last year, speaks volumes to how bad we need defensive help. And so taking a wide receiver who is not even the consensus number one wide receiver is just a bit of a letdown. I would have preferred Tyler Warren over Ted McMillan. If we want offensive help, I think that would have been even better. I wouldn't be as upset about that one. So again, we have to see the whole draft play out before I can have my final thoughts on what the Panthers are doing. You know, I hope it works out. Like I said, I hope he's the best wide receiver in Panthers history. And you know, I gotta trust Dave Canales and Dan Morgan to know what they're doing. I know Ted has gotten a lot of comparison to Mike Evans. Dave Canales had some success with Mike Evans. Mike Evans is an awesome receiver. If we can get a Mike Evans out of Ted McMillan, that's fantastic. I'll be happy. I heard someone compare him to my cousin said he's Kelvin Benjamin before the cheeseburgers. Kelvin Benjamin had one good season for the Panthers, and then he was washed out. So I hope he's much better than Kelvin Benjamin. There's been some questions of his love for the game, if he truly loves football or not, and yeah. So I would have preferred us to trade back even, but we'll have a final thoughts on the draft as a whole on Monday. But just initial thoughts. Yeah, not super stoked. Again, hope he proves me wrong. I hope he comes out and he's fantastic, and I look like you know, I've got egg on my face because of the reaction I had. That's my hope. That is my hope. But anyway, let's just go through a recap. What happened? Number one pick, Cam Ward. That was the consensus. If I was Tennessee, don't know if I would have done that. Don't think I would have. I would have gotten Travis Hunter, let it roll with Travis or with Will Levis for another year. Come back in next year's draft and look to fill that QB spot. But I also haven't looked at Cam Ward too much. So, you know, we'll see. I hope it works out for them. The first surprise of the trade, or the draft, was Jacksonville trading up to number 2 with Cleveland to get Travis Hunter. And I think Cleveland should have stayed and taken Travis Hunter. You know, I know they got some good draft capital, which I think they got a first rounder for next year as well as a second rounder for next year. And I don't see Jacksonville or Cleveland making any waves next season. So I think both those picks are going to be top 10 picks if I had to guess right now. Yeah, I think both those are going to be top 10 picks. Jacksonville could surprise me, you know, with Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, and then you got Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne and Tank Bixby. Also, I think Evan Ingram, or did he leave in free agency? I don't remember. I think they still have Evan Ingram, but I could be wrong. Either way, they got a nice offense. Their defense is still lacking. They need help on defense. We'll see what they do with the rest of the draft, but, you know, I think they gave up a lot, and I hope it works out for them. But I think Cleveland should have stayed and taken Travis Hunter. You know, I'm still mad that Cleveland, I said in my last video, I want Cleveland to take Travis Hunter, trade back, and get Shedeur Sanders. However, and now they had the draft capital to do that. They could have taken the draft. Well, no, never mind. I was going to say they could have taken the draft capital they got from Jacksonville to do that, but they didn't get Travis Hunter. So, anyway, Jacksonville trades up, takes Travis Hunter. We'll see how it pans out. New York Giants, no surprise, take Abdul Carter. Patriots, Will Campbell. Cleveland, Mason Graham. That doesn't do much. I think Cleveland, yeah, again, they got great draft capital. Next year they can make a splash in the draft. Probably look for a quarterback then, unless, Shedor's still on the board, so they could take him in round 2, but we'll get to that. But I thought there were some other pieces they could have put around the Cleveland to put Mason Graham, defense tackle, Myles Garrett. That's a good defensive line right there. Las Vegas, Ashton Genty, which going down, coming closer to the draft, a lot of people were saying, Ashton Genty wasn't going to be the pick. A lot of people thought fixing up the offensive line before going running back or whatnot, but no, they went Ashton Genty, and Pete Carroll has done well with running backs like that in the past. I saw one comparison with him, or a few comparisons with him being compared to Marshawn Lynch, so that could be good. New York Jets, Armand Membo. Panthers, Devin Millen. Yeah. Saints surprised me with this one. Offensive tackle, Kelvin Banks. Helped shore up that offensive line. I guess they had a pretty bad one last year. I hope he's a bust. I hope he's terrible. But I don't know if you guys watched the draft, man, but golly, Kelvin Banks, when he got picked, I think it was his wife or girlfriend sitting next to him, and she was holding a baby, and this poor baby, dude, I don't think they ever learned you don't shake a baby, because she just started freaking out, and the baby jolted awake, not knowing what's going on, the poor thing, and then it threw up. It was pretty funny, but also on a more serious note, golly, take care of the baby. The baby should not be there for that situation, or you should have a little bit more sense of what's going on. Bears with a surprise pick here with Colston Loveland, taking him over Tyler Warren, and I don't think it's a bad pick. I think every quarterback, I think the tight end position is really, I know it's coming up, or it's getting more respect, but I think the tight end position is really undervalued. When Carolina was at its best, who do we have? Greg Olsen. He was Cam Newton's safety net, and especially for young quarterbacks, I think you need that tight end. And so I love this for Chicago. I think he's really going to help Caleb Williams, and I think this is a great pick for them. 49ers, Muel Williams, edge from Georgia. I like it. He was one I was looking at for the Panthers in the draft video I did, and so I think 49ers, they need defensive help. They were gutted this free agency, and that was a long time coming. Now that Brock Purdy's need to be paid, they can't pay everyone, and so I have a hard time saying the 49ers are down and out. They were down and out last year for sure. Just all around awful season. But I think they can pull it back together. But I do think give it one more year before I say their Super Bowl window is closed. I do think it could be closing. Again, I might look back and look like I have egg on my face now, but just with all the pieces they're losing, and I think it was a mistake to pay Brandon Ayuk what they paid him, and now that they traded away Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey's a question mark with his health. Yeah, so we'll see how, but they still have Mike Shanahan, and right, yeah. Am I thinking of his dad? Kyle Shanahan, not Mike Shanahan. They have Kyle Shanahan still, and he's a great coach. And so I don't. And they got Robert Saleh back as defense coordinator. So I'll wait and hold my Super Bowl window closing remark. We'll take that back. I think they could have been down out last year. Maybe they'll bring it back this year. We'll see. But I do think it was a mistake to pay Brandon Ayuk, and we'll see what they do with Brock Purdy. Okay, Dallas Cowboys, Tyler Booker. My brother's Cowboys fan, and he said that's a big need for them, so we'll see how that works. I know I saw a video of Micah Parsons being upset when we took Ted McMillan, because he was like, that was supposed to be our pick. And so when I saw the Cowboys on the draft, or when it was their turn to pick, I was thinking Matthew Golden, or even Tyler Warren, but no, they went guard. So Miami Dolphins took Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan. Don't know much about this guy. Didn't really. I didn't really see much on him, and man, I didn't realize how down and out the Dolphins are. I was watching the draft with some friends last night. One of them's a Dolphins fan, and man, just all the stuff going on with them. I knew the Tyreek Hill drama. There's always drama surrounding him, I feel like, and they just need so much. And I didn't realize there was an issue with players showing up late to meetings. It doesn't sound like Mike McDaniel has a good hold of the team and sort of command of that team, which is unfortunate because I like Mike McDaniel, but it doesn't sound like it's going too well. And at least from what I've been listening to and reading, the Dolphins are pretty close to being a train wreck. What did I see? One person put it like they're a slow motion train wreck or something like that, but they're heading for that. And yeah, it just seems very dysfunctional over there, and they don't have their stuff together, which is unfortunate because I like the Dolphins. I like Mike McDaniel. I like Tua, and the running back they have. I'm blanking on his name, but regardless, I might remember later. Anyway, we'll get going a little quicker just because we're going to go through the draft grades as well. But the Colts taking Tyler Warren. Love this pick for them. I think that's going to be awesome for Anthony Richardson. Again, that tight end with the young quarterback, or just quarterback safety net. I think this is a slam dunk for them. I love it. And I hope he has success. The freaking Falcons, dude. I knew it. I knew once we didn't take Jalen Walker, I had a feeling it was either going to be the Saints or the Falcons, and sure enough, the Falcons took him, and now we're going to have to deal with the wrath of Jalen Walker for years to come. I hope he's a bust. I hope every player the Falcons and Saints draft is a bust. Bucs got Greg Zabel, guard. The Buccaneers got Emeka Ibuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. Again, didn't know much about him, but from what everyone was saying last night, it sounds like the Buccaneers got a great one here. Some people were saying he was the steal of the draft at wide receiver. So I hope that's true. I know I shouldn't, because same division and conference and all that with the Buccaneers, but I really like the Buccaneers. I really like Baker Mayfield. I like Mike Evans. I like Todd Bowles. I really like that team, and so I hope he works out. Yeah, so I like that for the Bucs. Denver Broncos. I thought the Broncos were going to go Amari Hampton here, but they went Jahad Barron to pair him with Patrick Surtain. That's going to be a scary back half on their defense. It's going to be a nice duo. Pittsburgh Steelers with, again, another shock for me. I think the biggest surprises were the Jaguars trading up to 2 to take Travis, Panthers taking Det, and then the Steelers passing on Shedeur Sanders for Derek Harmon. And then what the Giants did down here, but we'll get to that. Apparently, I think it was on Pat McAfee. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but it's the guy on one half of the hammer down. Steelers fan on Pat McAfee was saying that Derek Harmon was compared to, he was like a Cam Hayward type player, and so getting him in there with Cam Hayward to learn under him could be really good for them. But I was just surprised with all the hype around Shedeur to them. That was a big shock. Los Angeles Chargers, Amari Hampton, love this pick there. Yeah, love the fact that North Carolina Tar Heels going to the Los Angeles Chargers. I think it's going to be awesome seeing him play there. I think he'll be really good. I think they got a stud at running back there. Big story of the night, Green Bay Packers. First time in 22 years take a receiver in the first round. Matthew Golden, Texas. I guess, yeah, they need some help. They don't really have that. They had a good, they have like good wide receiver twos. And I thought a lot of those guys, what's his name? Is it Christian Watson? No. I'm blanking, but the Green Bay Packers wide receiver room, they got guys, but none of them were really stepping up as the number one, so maybe Matthew Golden will be that number one receiver for them. Vikings Donovan Jackson guard, another big one. New York Giants trade up into the first round with the Houston Texans and take Jackson Dart, not Shedeur Sanders. They traded up and took Jackson Dart. I think this is a mistake for the Giants. I think they should have taken Shedeur Sanders. I think he'll be better than Jackson Dart. I don't think Jackson Dart's going to be, I don't think he's going to be whatever, what some of the people are thinking he's going to be. I think Shedor's going to be better in the long run. I think this was a mistake by the Giants. But that's just me. Yeah. I think this was a mistake. I think they should have gone Shedeur. And the fact that they trade back up, hear me out. This could have been the Browns. Browns could have stayed at 2. Taken Travis Hunter. Traded back in where the Rams were picking. And picked Shedeur Sanders and had Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders together. see where Shador goes now. But I think he'll go early in the second. But yeah. Anyway, Giants, Jackson Dart, 25. I think it was a mistake, but we'll see. Then the Atlanta Falcons trade back into the first round. Granted, they gave up the next year's first round draft pick to do it. I think that's a bit steep for a 26 pick, but James Pierce Jr., I think I said this in my last video, he was projected at the end of last year, he was projected to be a top pick this year, and then he fell because production dipped. But the fact that Falcons got Jalen Walker and James Pierce, that's frustrating. That's frustrating. Also, just quick, I think I said before with the Giants, they traded up with the Rams. No, they traded up with the Houston Texans, and then it was Atlanta who traded up with the Rams. But, man, I hope like I said with Jalen Walker, I hope he's a bust. But I think James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker together are going to be a great duo, and the Falcons had the first round draft that I want the Panthers to have. Again, giving up a first round pick for next year for that, I think is a bit much. But dude, if you got two stud edge defensive guys right there, and you're set on offense, you got all your pieces on offense, and so to go in the first round and get two studs on defense, I think Atlanta's winning the division next year. I think they're gonna be really good. Yeah, I think they're winning the division next year, and they're a playoff team next year. Unfortunately, but yeah, they're gonna win the division. Then we got the Ravens, Malachi Starks, maybe. I don't know. Malachi Starks. Anyway, safety from Georgia. Detroit Lions, Tyleek Williams, defensive tackle, Ohio State. Washington Commanders, Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle, Oregon. Buffalo Bills, Maxwell Harrison, cornerback, Kentucky. Dude, I feel bad for Maxwell Harrison, not because of where he got drafted. Where he got drafted, awesome. I think that's a great spot to be drafted with the Buffalo Bills. I think he'll be good. But all night at the draft, this dude's over there dapping players up as like he's at the front of where everyone's walking past. So this dude's over there dapping up all the players as they're going to get drafted. By the time he got drafted, draft room was basically empty, and so he had no one to really dap him up like he was hyping everyone else up, and I thought it was just awesome to see him like being hyped for all the other dudes getting drafted. And to me that speaks to his character, and I'm excited for the Bills to get him, and I hope he has success, and I hope he's good. Jihad Campbell going to the freaking Eagles. Dude, they got a stud. They traded up one spot to get him, and yeah, I think he's a freaking stud. I think he's going to be awesome. He was another one that I was hoping, the Panthers could trade back and get some picks and get him in the later in the draft. Yeah, I think he's a stud. I think he'll be good. And then Kansas City getting offensive tackle Josh Simmons, which they need to end the first night. So we'll see. We can go over and look at the draft grades here real quick. So Arizona got an A for Walter Nolan. Falcons get a B. I wonder why they only got a B. Taking the first down Walker was a home run. His lack of ideal size might have knocked him down boards a bit, but he wins with strong hands quickness as a pass rusher. Tracks the ball very well in the open field. Sounds nice. Would have been nice to have him in Carolina. showed excellent pass rush skills in 2023 and showed sub 4.5 speed at the NFL Combine. He was not as productive last season, though, in the lack of size to handle powerful NFL tackles. No, lacks the size to handle powerful NFL tackles. If he matures and gets stronger, there's a chance he can grow from a designated pass rusher to a starter. Giving up a future first-round pick to move up for Pierce seemed a high price at first blush, but receiving a third-round selection this year somewhat mitigated the risk. Yeah, I don't know. I would unfortunately give the Falcons an A, but these are the so-called experts. Baltimore Ravens got an A. Buffalo got an A-. Hairston, he's not a large corner, but he has 4.28 speed. He does not back down against big receiver and possesses the confidence needed to face the opposition's top receiver. However, he must prove he's strong enough to stick with and tackle physical pass catchers on the next level. It was notable that the Bills passed on some talented edge rushers despite Joey Bosa's injury history, Von Miller's departure, and Michael Holler's suspension. I keep forgetting Joey Bosa signed there. I'll be curious about that. Panthers get a C. No surprise there. McMillan joins last year's first-round pick. Xavier Leggett has targeted for Bryce Young. While McMillan isn't the fastest receiver, he has enough speed to be a factor downfield, and his ability to make catches over defenders is outstanding. To maximize his potential, McMillan must eliminate some drops and separate from NFL corners with physicality. It was surprising to see McMillan come off the board in the top 10. Carolina could have selected tight end Colston Loveland or Taylor Warren is a big target for Young. They also could have taken edge linebacker Jalen Walker and met their receiver need later in the draft. Exactly. I would have much rather Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, any of these guys. Yeah. Gosh. Frustrating. Bears A-. Cincinnati B. Cleveland B+. Yeah, we'll see. Cowboys B+. Broncos A. Detroit B+. Green Bay A. Houston A. No picks, but they got an A. What they get? Texans received a third-round pick this year and next while moving just 9 spots down in the deal with the Giants on Thursday night. The trade took the team out of the first round, but they possess the second pick of round 2, so there'll be a very good value available. It's surprising that the Giants moved back into the first round and didn't have to give up a 1 for next year, and the Falcons did. The fact that the Falcons had to give up a 1 to move back in, but Giants didn't, that's surprising to me. Houston could have gotten more, I think. Maybe not, I don't know. Indianapolis Colts A+, I agree. Jacksonville A-. Kansas City A. I mean, it's Kansas City there, of course. Las Vegas A+. Yeah. We'll see. Chargers A. I would have given them an A+. Rams A-. This is another one. I didn't mention that the Rams, when I saw them there before they traded, Shador came to mind for the Rams. Thinking of Shador there behind Matthew Stafford to learn the ropes, sit for a year or 2 behind Matthew Stafford. I don't think that would have been a bad move on their end, but what they said, I didn't mind the Rams' decision to trade down 20 spots, and out of round 1 they traded 20 spots down. They got the future first rounder, but I just wish the deal didn't also require parting with one of their 2 third-round picks. Jim Lesseed has his staff and just been so effective finding talent in that range. That said, the Rams do still have 6 day 3 selections, including a 4th rounder, 4 in round 6, so it's possible they might try to package some of those picks to move up to a solid mid-round prospect who catches their eye. Dolphins B-, Vikings B, New England B-, New Orleans B, the Giants A, with Russell Wilson for team's QB1 job this year. Dart adds value as a runner, which will make him a challenge for defenses that deploy a lot of man coverage. The pro careers of Dart and Shedeur Sanders will be compared by Giants fans for years to come. Giving up 2 third-round picks, one this year and one in 2026, was a reasonable price to move up 8 spots and secure a 5th-round year option of potential starting quarterback. The Jets got a B+, Eagles A, I would have gotten A+. Pittsburgh A, San Fran B, Seattle A, Tampa Bay B+, Tennessee A, Commanders C+. So there we have it. Let's see, draft. Let's see if we can see like best available. Best prospects remaining. It's a bit of a longer video, but okay. So we got Nick Munwari, who I know some people want the Panthers to take, so he's still there. Will Johnson's still available. He's got some health issues, I think. So, you know, him, I don't know if he'd be great here just because we already have J.C. Horn who has issues with injury, but Shedeur Sanders, Mike Green, this is one that was very surprising to me, seeing him still there, but if we could trade up for him, here's the other thing. If we could trade up for a guy like Mike Green and get him early in the second, I'll be happy. I'll rescind what I said about, you know, that would help boost my first round grade. I'm gonna hold off on giving a final grade. Like I said, I agreed with the C for the Panthers' first pick, but if they could come back and redeem the Snells and get like someone like Mike Green, maybe even one of these corners. Well, he's not a corner. He's a safety, but if they could move up in the second round, I wouldn't be as upset. Mason Taylor, tight end. This guy, Boston College, I've heard good things about him, and we've had success with Boston College defenders in the past. So. I've heard some nice things about this guy. This linebacker, Carson. Another corner. Landon Jackson. This Jackson has outstanding size, 6'6", length and explosiveness as a pass rusher. He utilizes a long arm move to notch wins in the backfield. He has a nice burst to close and finish. I love his effort against the run. He can stack and hold single blocks, but he struggles against down blocks. He has climbed up the rankings this offseason with an awesome performance in Reese's Senior Bowl game and an impressive showing at the Combine. Yeah, I would not be mad about Landon here. Benjamin Morrison. See, Jaden Higgins was one I was thinking maybe in the second round, like if we wanted to address receiver, but yeah. So Jalen Noel, another receiver I thought we could have taken later on, but yeah. So there are still some guys on defense that I think, Azaria Thomas, cornerback. There are definitely still some guys. Xavier Wansey's another one. There are still some guys who can make impacts on defense that I think would be good. If the Panthers are able to trade up and get someone like Donovan or Mike Green, and even Will Johnson. I mean, if he can stay healthy, he'd be a nice addition. But I think the edge is so important. So yeah, Panthers can still redeem themselves. We'll see what they do, if they're able to. Unfortunately, I won't be able to watch tonight because I'm going away on a men's retreat. And we're going to be going through a Bible study right as the gonna try to stay focused on the Bible study and get in the Word and stay focused. But I know in the back of my mind, I'll be like, what's happening with the draft? So like right when that Bible study ends, I'm hoping to be able to pull out my phone. Hopefully some of the other guys there will be into it as well. Maybe we'll be able to watch some of it. I don't know. But anyway, that's going to be it for today, guys. I'll be back on Monday with my final thoughts on what the Panthers did. We'll see what they do the rest of this weekend. We'll see where Shador goes. I'm really curious, you know. I don't even know who's picking where. I guess Jacksonville has the 33rd pick. It was Cleveland.